Hi, I'm Summer Meyer,
And I'm RJ Meyer.
and this is our story of adoption.
So our story basically starts, probably almost 8 years ago now. We were having troubles getting pregnant, and we were seeing some infertility doctors. We finally had gotten to that point. And our son, who is now 7, was born through IVF, in vitro fertilization. We tried a couple more times after him, and it did not work. So luckily we had one healthy, happy baby. And when he was probably, how old? A year and a half.
Probably a year and a half.
After we had tried a couple more times to get pregnant through in vitro again, Summer came to me at that point and started talking about adoption. I was not an advocate of adoption at first, just because I really, honestly, was that guy who was like, I don't think I can love another child as much as my own.
Well, just to touch on infertility a little bit, it was costly and exhausting, and we were blessed with our son. It was a couple years of pain and tears and rejoicing when he came along, and the one thing I knew in my heart was that I didn't see him as an only child, and I was 100% sure that there was a sibling out there for him. Luckily, I had a friend whose sister, she had adopted through foster care. And as you may well know, that infertility treatments are costly, very costly. And we were at the point where adoption, RJ, like you said, was a little bit hesitant. And so convincing him to start with, say, an international or a domestic adoption would have taken a lot of convincing at that point after the cost of infertility. So I had coffee with this woman who had adopted a little boy through foster care, and it just spoke to my heart. One of those meetings that I walked into very skeptical. She just took me for coffee and said, here's my story, here's what I've seen, and just told me how, there are kids out there, like, in your state, in your city, that need homes, that are already here. So I came home and gently approached RJ about the thought of possibly adopting. Like, I'll be the first to admit, when we got married, adoption was the furthest thing from my mind. In my perfect world, we were going to have kids, and it was going to be easy, and it wasn't that way at all. And I think this infertility, that was
tough.
It was a challenge, and I think God was really putting his hand on us, and he was directing us where he wanted us to be, because I don't think I would have gotten to the point of even considering adoption on my own. We started by steps, and we basically said we're going to take the PS MAP classes, so the classes that you need to take to become foster and adoptive parents.
It was a good stepping stone for us because I was a little bit uncertain to begin with. And cost was a big thing because we had just spent a fair amount going through infertility treatments.
The thing that scared me the most about adopting or bringing a foster child into our house was the fear that they might not stay. And I think at the same time, that was almost reassuring to RJ, just in the fact that it was something that we could make sure it was a good fit.
On both sides.
On both sides,
Yeah.
for the child and for us. The biggest thing I hear from people when they find out we're foster parents is, oh, I don't know how you could do it and have the child leave. And that was my feeling also.
And I have to actually, that's where I come into play, I think, because I have to remind her quite frequently that even if it's just for 2 weeks that we have a child, some of the situations that we've seen where the child's coming from, even 2 weeks that we can offer that child, a safe, loving, nurturing household with siblings that care as well. That's 2 weeks of their life that is going to be good.
And then we finished our PS MAP classes, and there's a waiting period while they process trying to get your license. At about 9:30 at night, the phone rang, and they called and they said, we have a baby girl and she's going to be discharged tomorrow and she has nowhere to go. I said yes before even talking to RJ. I just knew that this was where we were supposed to be. Everything was right. So I said yes at like 9:30 at night, and they wanted me to come pick her up the next day. So I hung up and I called RJ bawling, and then I was up till about 4 o'clock in the morning because I had no car seat, no crib, no diapers, no wipes, no formula, but I did have a 2-year-old sleeping in his bed. And so I went through every possible tub of clothing I could find and dug out what I could and cleaned up stuff that had been thrown in the storage room, hoping for this day. And RJ said he was going to finish his work on Friday and was going to get home as fast as he could. So Friday morning rolls around, and you realize most people have 9 months to prepare for a baby coming into their house, and I had like less than 24 hours. Being completely 100% honest and being real with you all, you don't know what you're walking into. You don't know if this child will be your daughter. You don't know if you'll have her for a month, a week, 10 days, or the rest of your life. And you don't know what she's gonna look like. Will she look like you? They don't tell you that on the phone.
Will there be health issues?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
You're walking in 100% blind. But then the moment came when they actually took me back to meet my daughter. And not knowing that she would be my daughter. And I'm going to get choked up. But, they walk you back into she was in the nurse's station in a bassinet, those clear hospital bassinets, and she was wide awake. So I don't know too many three-day-old babies that lay contently in a wide awake in a bassinet, but she was. And
happy as can be, probably.
Yeah, just looking around. And she was wide awake, looking around. And the nurses, I stood there for a moment, and I finally looked at the hospital social worker, and said, I would like to pick her up. And she said, I think she would probably like that. And I picked her up and I rocked her, and it was scary and frightening and wonderful and everything at the same time. And her doctor, who was just fabulous, he came and he was kind enough to kind of explain to me the situation with her that he had seen with her mother, her birth mother, and he was very kind and loving about the situation, and he just knew she needed a good home. So we walked out of the hospital that day with a baby, and RJ pulled into the parking garage about the instant.
As she's walking out, I pulled up and saw them in the parking garage, which this hospital's huge. It's got, I think, 4 or 5 different parking garages, and thankfully I just pulled up to the right one and was there when she was walking out. So I got to see our daughter for the first time as well, and it was pretty surreal. She's a cute little peanut, and she was a great baby, and we've had her since she was 3 days old, and she's been a part of our family ever since.
When she was 1 month old, we were told that we should probably go to court that day, that her birth parents were considering signing away their rights, which doesn't happen in the foster care system very often. So we went to court that day, and we did get a chance to meet her birth family. I feel very, very, very lucky that I got to see her parents and talk to them and meet them, and I give them a hug and just let them know that she is loved more than they could imagine. And we told them that we would give her the life that we could give her. And so that was pretty unbelievable. It doesn't happen that way. It's not an everyday occurrence in the foster care system.
I remember coming home from work one day, and Summer hands me a card. I don't remember exactly what the occasion was, but I think I remember thinking, okay, she give me a card. Summer's got a very good heart, so I was probably thinking just a random card. Thanks for being you kind of a card. I open it up and I look inside and I'm thinking, I didn't even know what it was, but it was a positive pregnancy test.
My doctor found out I was pregnant before RJ did because I did not believe the pregnancy test was Shay. And bless her heart, she called me on her cell phone after I went in and did some blood work because I didn't even want to tell RJ because I didn't want to, we'd been there, done that so many times. And she called me from her cell phone, and the first thing out of her mouth, and I'll always remember it, was, "You were meant to adopt that baby girl." And it was so true, and it spoke to my soul. Like, you were meant to adopt that baby girl, and you're pregnant. And it was like they were meant to be siblings, and he knew what we didn't know and what we needed way, way, way before we did. And he brought us through this infertility to 3 children that were all meant to be here, and in all very different ways, and all be part of our family. And it's hard to believe you can love a child that isn't your own as much as I love Siri, I can't even consider not having her in our life. No. It makes you realize how little blood matters and how little DNA matters, that people really matter.